Ani Buju, Minobimo Sekwe Indigenous, Migize Dodem, Waganaxing Odawa and Dodipindagus, Midasage and Donjaba, Migrach Ngichinendum, Mompia. My name is Nathan Kyogama, and I am Odawa Kwe from the Waganaxing area, which is land of the Crooked Tree. My families are from Cross Village and south, right around the Bayshore area. I also have a Potawatomi grandfather.
Babunini Indigenous cause, Zizak Nindorum, Rabbits back Nindunjaba, Anishinaabe Mon, Obishka Mon, and Jamukaman Tony Grandin. And what I said is Babunini is my spirit name. Winterman, Indigenous cause, that means that's who I am. Zizak is my clan, I'm the Crane clan. Rabbits back in Dunjaba. I was born and raised on the old reservation in Rabbits back on the other side of the lake there. And I'm the only Mackinac band descendant that was born, raised, and continues to live on the old reservation. And then Rabbits back in Dunjaba is where I was from, and then I am Anishinaabe.
Waganaxing Odawa, Anishinaabe Kwenda, Techinga being Minister in Dojaba, Wakwano saying Nora Badaswick, Jashku Dodem, Kamimshiki Kondishna Kasam, Jaganashi Uwam, Delita Gasco Smith. My name is Delita Gasco Smith, that's how we say it in that English language, but I am actually a woman with Waganaxing Odawa Nation, which is that place where we are today. And when I talked about, and I introduced myself to Chinga being Minister, that's that place along the water. That's where my people come from. You know, we've always been here. So that's where, like I said, that place along the water from Harbor Springs all the way up to Cross Village. We're the people of those waterways. You know, this is the place that the Creator set aside for us to take care of. You know, there was no ownership. There was no, I own this is. You know, I said this is something the Creator put here for all of us to enjoy. And the Waganaxing Odawa people, this is the place that He gave us to take care of. We've always been here, and we've always maintained our cultural identity and our spiritual roots in this area here. But this area also known was known, the Odawa people were here, we were known as the peacekeepers in the area, in this Great Lakes region. In the summertime, we would hold great grand councils along that lakeshore out there. And then when we talk about that Waganaxing, this place where we are, that word in our language means to something that's crooked or something is bent, because that was a landmark when people came here for those peacekeeping in the summertime, or just if you visit here in the summertime for trading or whatever have you. They knew that this was a place to come. This is Waganaxing because it was actually a huge white pine tree, bent kind of like my arm is right now. You know, it stuck out over the shoreline out by Goodhearted where it was, and so everybody knew this was the place to come. This is the place where everybody met and everybody where we had those councils at.
Northern Michigan is important to me because this is where my family, my friends, my community have lived for time immemorial. We have our creation stories that take place in various areas. One story being the Straits of Mackinac. This is where my helpers live, my spirits, my medicines, my traditions, my stories. All that makes me Anishinaabe comes from this particular area. And there's no other place in the world quite like it. There's nowhere that I can connect with my spirituality. I can connect with my traditional food systems. I can connect with my leadership, my arts. Everything that is Anishinaabe comes from this locale, comes from this area. This is where our governments, our tribal nations, our tribal villages had lived, had thrived, had engaged in commerce. And where our language has developed as well. This is our hub, this is our home. And when I think about what this area, but in addition to Straits of Mackinac, means to me, I think of women. I think of our strong female leadership as Anishinaabe Kwe. I find that throughout history, women have been leaders, have been strong life givers, have been strong leaders when it comes to preservation of natural resources, but also in economic development. We were strongholds in the community with regards to fur trade, with commerce. We led businesses. We cared for folks who were traveling in distances when it came to trade, to fur trade. We led the way, and to this day, Anishinaabe women continue to lead our communities through many environmental justice issues, through redeveloping our tribal economic base, right? Women have been the core to the survival, to the strategy of why we're still here to this day. So when I think of this region, it's not only beautiful because of the landscape. We have beaches, we have beautiful water, we have riverways, we have hiking, but that all feeds into what has continued to give us life, right? Without those natural resources, without the water, without the food, where would we be, right? And so women have a strong role when it comes to caring for people, place, and our food systems.
What this place means to me is it's all about our connection to this land. We've been here for so long, and we are the only people, in the country that can say that. That our ties to our land is everything. It is so sacred. It is so deep. It's meaningful. The difference with Native people is, our Anishinaabe people, is we don't think of like right here and now. We've always had this concept of 7 generations. We think of 7 generations before us, we think of 7 generations after us. And that is pretty much why we're still here, is because 7 generations ago, my ancestors were thinking of me. They weren't thinking about how much they could get for the land or the timber, or nowadays we're not thinking about how much we can get for oils or a pipeline, and which is the reason why we're so concerned with how the environment and how the land is being treated. Because if it continues to get treated like this with the fracking and the pipelines, we're not going to be here to preserve it for the next 7 generations. And that's why that is so important to us. That's why this place and our land is so important to us, is we're always thinking of that. And I always think back to my ancestors, like Gete and Anishinaabe, the old ones, because I just get chills thinking about, they were thinking of me. And I think of that, like I now have my first granddaughter, and that is so meaningful to me, because I'm seeing my future and I'm seeing what kind of legacy am I going to leave my grandchildren. And that is so important for me. So our connection to the land is what makes us so unique and so different and so powerful too, because we are willing to do anything to protect our land. And while we're doing that, protecting our land, we're also trying to bring back our language and our culture, and that is a daily thing to me. I wake up and think that every day. That's what I based my education on, what I based my career on, is preserving. So every day Anishinaabe people are preserving, we're revitalizing, we're protecting our lands, because that's what our ancestors did. It's in our blood, it's in our system, our thoughts, it's in our DNA, and that's just what we do as Anishinaabe people. And that's why it's so important. I know this is a very sacred, special place around here, along these shores, and especially all the islands. Yeah, Mackinac Island, you have Beaver Island, Garden Island, High Island. Those were like spiritual meeting places where Anishinaabe and natives from all over came to these islands. They're very, very sacred to us. A lot of ceremonies were held there, seasonal ceremonies. I mean, there were people, Menominee and Ho-Chunk, that came across on canoes over Lake Michigan to go to these ceremonies that Odawas used to have. So it's so important to preserve that, and that spirit is still there. It's still in the land. It's embedded in the land, and there's sacred places. Everything's sacred, but there's sacred places where ceremonies were held that are still there and that are still protected. So it's just very important to us as Anishinaabe people.
It's the history of my people. It's the history of my family. I spent time away from the Mackinac Straits area, but when I came back, it was home. The history of my family goes back to the Native Americans, and then when the arrival of the Europeans took place, they married my Native American ancestors. So I have family that goes back many generations and with a story to tell about each family.
My family and I live in Harbor Springs, the Odawa capital of the world. You know, it's been referred to as that in times gone by. But Harbor Springs, you know, Cross Village, my mom and dad's side both, for generations, we've lived in the Cross Village, Harbor Springs area. And, you know, when I spent part of my childhood downstate, coming up here in our free time, this area always felt like home to me. It did. And I think part of it is just the nature of the area in and of itself. You know, the rolling hillsides, the shorelines, the natural resources, you know, the creeks, the rivers, the inland lakes, you know, those things that I have always had an appreciation for, which led to my, you know, training through education, MSU, conservation mindset. And nowadays, majority of my hobbies are actually outside type activities, hunting and fishing, which fall right in line, you know, with treaty provisions that, you know, the people, the Anishinaabe Odawa people, held very important for this area here. You know, those are things that I just enjoy doing. You know, I really like I said, the outside, the nature of our region. And I think that's one of the things that also other people see when they come up to our homelands, this part of the state. You know, the northwest, the northern part of the lower peninsula, the straits of Mackinac, Mackinac Island, parts of the UP, of course. Those are special places here in our world, in our region. And, you know, you don't have to be multi-generational like my family has been, had the, you know, fortunate ability to be just always part of this area. You can be a visitor and just see that, and that's powerful. Like, that's what makes this a destination part of our state and our country. You know, just the nature of our region as it is, the beauty of it. It pulls people in and wants you to be part of it.
So for me, as an Anishinaabe person, the whole Straits of Mackinac is very significant because it ties into my own personal home of Onamatikawing, place of the prayer tree, also known as Cross Village. That's where I grew up. That's what I identify as my home. And to me, it's all tied into the same area of northern Michigan. There's different areas within my home that are more special. Cross Village is definitely, you know, holds like this preeminence. It's the spot for me. So wherever I go, anywhere, I always say I'm from Cross Village. I may live in Harbor Springs, but I'm from Cross Village. And, you know, with Mackinac being so close, I know the stories of creation within Mackinac, the story of the Great Migration coming from the west, and the great councils being held at Mackinac, deciding where the Anishinaabe were going to finally settle. That all ties into my homelands. But for Cross Village, for me, that's where my identity was established. That's where my family, my friends, and who I came to be as a person was built in Cross Village. And with people who became family, and my family that's still with me to this day. Unfortunately, my grandma's walked on, but she was a very instrumental part of my life in Cross Village. And the people who have become my family, the Kellers just down the road from where I grew up, are now my family. And the young lady that you just heard, Gimme One, she's my goddaughter. I consider her, you know, my family, and that's all out of Cross Village. So that place of foundation, identity is still there. It's a place that we've been for thousands of years, and there's still Anishinaabe people living there. And I feel very lucky and fortunate to call that place my home. And I just am very, very thankful that I can say that I am from this area of northern Michigan, and that other tribes have been removed or they're extinct, but the Anishinaabe of northern Michigan are still here.